very special land. There's a very special girl.
How did a simple doll that smelled like strawberries become one of the biggest sensations of the 1980s and then almost completely disappear? Now, at her peak, Strawberry Shortcake wasn't just a toy. She was everywhere. Her face covered lunchboxes, bedsheets, clothes, and even cereal boxes. Kids didn't just watch her, they lived in her world. But just a few years later, that entire empire collapsed, replaced by failed reboots, confusing changes, and years of uncertainty behind the scenes. So what really caused her fall, and how did she manage to survive long enough to make a comeback? Well, the answer shows exactly how even the biggest childhood icons can lose everything and still find a way back. So what if one of the biggest toy icons of all time didn't even start as a toy? Before the dolls and cartoons, Strawberry Shortcake was just a drawing. And in the early 1970s, an artist named Barbie Sargent created a small girl with freckles, a big bonnet, and a strawberry theme. At the time, she wasn't meant to become anything major. She was simply one of many designs created for a greeting card company. And for a while, nothing happened. The character sat quietly on cards, just another cute design in a growing collection. But then, something changed. In 1977, someone noticed a trend. Strawberry-themed designs were becoming more popular, and suddenly, that simple character didn't seem so ordinary anymore. She looked like something bigger. So, they tested it. A new line of Strawberry Shortcake greeting cards was released, and almost immediately people connected with her. The response was strong. Fans didn't just like the design, they remembered it. And that's when everything shifted. Because once a character proves it can connect with people, companies don't just leave it alone. They build on it. Now, the question was no longer if Strawberry Shortcake could grow, it was how far she could go. So what turned a greeting card character into a full-blown phenomenon? Well, the answer was simple, but powerful. In 1980, the first Strawberry Shortcake dolls were released, but these weren't normal dolls. Each one had a scent. Strawberry Shortcake smelled like strawberries, her friends smelled like blueberries, lemons, and other fruits. And that one detail changed everything. Because now, the character wasn't just something kids could see, it was something they could experience. And it worked. The dolls quickly became must-have items. Kids didn't just want one, they wanted the entire set. And each new character added to a growing world, and that world kept expanding. But the real turning point came with television. An animated special introduced Strawberry Shortcake to a much larger audience, and even though major networks had passed on it, the show still found its way into homes across the country. And it took off. Now, Strawberry Shortcake wasn't just a toy, she had a voice, a personality, and a full world filled with friends and stories. And from there, everything grew. More shows were created, more products were released, her image spread across nearly every part of childhood life. And for a few years, she wasn't just popular, she was literally everywhere. But success at that level brings a problem. What happens when there's nowhere left to grow? So the fall didn't happen overnight. At first, it was actually barely noticeable. Sales started to slow, new releases didn't really feel as exciting, and the shelves that once felt exciting started to feel crowded, because there was just simply too much. Too many characters, too many versions, too many products. And when everything feels the same, the magic starts to fade. At the same time, something else was happening. The world of toys was changing. Faster, louder, and more action-driven brands were taking over. And compared to that, Strawberry Shortcake's soft and simple world started to feel outdated. But the biggest problem wasn't competition, it was time. The kids who grew up loving Strawberry Shortcake were getting older, and the brand wasn't bringing in enough new fans to replace them. So by the mid-1980s, the momentum was gone. In 1985, the original toy line came to an end, and just like that, one of the biggest toy empires of the decade stopped. But instead of disappearing completely, something else happened. They tried to bring her back. Now, can a childhood icon survive a complete makeover? Well, in the early 1990s, a new version of Strawberry Shortcake was released. The design was updated with new styles and a more modern look. But something felt off. It didn't feel like the same character anymore. Fans who remembered the original didn't connect with it, and new audiences didn't have a reason to care. The revival didn't last long, but that wasn't the end. In the early 2000s, another reboot arrived, and this one made even bigger changes. The character looked older, more modern, and completely different from the original version. Her outfit changed, her personality shifted, and even her world felt different. Instead of focusing on desserts, the theme moved toward fresh fruit. Instead of a simple lifestyle, she felt more modern and updated. But for many fans, something important was missing: the original charm. Because what made Strawberry Shortcake special wasn't just how she looked, it was how she felt. And that feeling was hard to recreate. The more changes were made, the further the character moved away from what people actually loved. But while fans were reacting to these changes, something else was happening behind the scenes. What happens when a brand doesn't have a clear direction? So over the years, Strawberry Shortcake changed ownership multiple times. Different companies took control, each with their own ideas for what the brand should be. And some focused on modern updates, others tried to bring back nostalgia. Some attempted to do both at once. But without a clear direction, the brand struggled to stay consistent. There were legal disputes, there were major business deals, and the character was passed from one company to another. To fans, Strawberry Shortcake was a childhood memory. Behind the scenes, she had become something else, a product. And when a character becomes just a product, it becomes much harder to protect what made it special. So the question became, was there any way to bring her back the right way? After years of failed attempts, something finally worked. In 2009, a new version was introduced with a different approach. Instead of completely changing the character, the goal was to balance old and new. The design felt updated, but it still kept some of the original charm. And for the first time in years, it connected. The show found an audience, the products returned, and the brand started to feel stable again.
Strawberry shortcake. She's a very bitty girl with very big possibilities, and fruit-filled fun is the secret to her recipe. She may be small, her task is too tall. She'll be at best, but just give her a call.
The biggest change wasn't just how she looked, it was where she appeared. Instead of relying only on traditional shows and toys, Strawberry Shortcake moved into digital spaces. Online videos, short-form content, and new platforms helped introduce her to a new generation. And then came another shift. A newer version placed her in a more modern setting, designed to connect with today's audience while still keeping parts of the past. Now, the strategy continues to evolve. New content is being created for modern platforms, new styles are being tested, and new ideas are being explored to keep the character relevant. For the first time in a long time, the brand isn't just reacting, it's adapting. So what really caused the rise and fall of Strawberry Shortcake? Well, it wasn't just one thing. Her rise came from a simple idea, perfect timing, and a unique identity that stood out. Her fall came from too much expansion, changing trends, and losing touch with what made her special. And her survival? Well, that came from something stronger than trends: nostalgia. Because even after everything changed, people never forgot. That look, that scent, that feeling. It stayed, and that's why she never truly disappeared. Some brands fade away, others just wait for the right moment to come back.